Right, good evening everyone. I now formally open this meeting of Berwick Town Council on Monday the 27th of October at 6 p.m. Well, in fact, 2 minutes past 6. My name is John Robertson and I am the Mayor Chair of Berwick Town Council. Before we move to the business of the agenda, I'm very pleased to welcome Councillor Glenn Sanderson, Leader of Northumberland County Council, and Paul Jones, Director of Environment and Transport. They have kindly joined us this evening to speak with members and to answer any questions you may have about the County Council's work and its relationship with Berwick. Councillor Sanderson, thank you for joining us. Over to you.
Thank you. Do you want me to stay here or shall I come to the
Come
stage?
forward a wee bit.
I promise you I'll behave myself. Paul is my hitman. So any difficult questions, he's the man to ask. Thank you very much for having us along this evening. It's the first time I've been to Berwick Town Council for about 18 months, I think. So I wanted to come up just to show my face, so you've got a name to put a face to. Paul is the director of all the frontline services, and so I've asked Paul to very kindly come with me to any sort of frontline issues that you have concerns around. The key thing that's going on at the moment at the County Council is the preparation of our budget for next year. It seems that we fix the budget and then no longer have we done that and voted on that, we have to start on the next one. Inevitably, I wish it wasn't always inevitably, it doesn't matter which political party has been in over the last 20 years, inevitably, we have to make savings. This year it looks like around about 20 million. That's not easy to find. So we have had a consultation period that started about 6 weeks ago and is finishing soon, talking about what is it that you would like us to do more of, given the tight financial situation we're in. What do you think the County Council has done well? What would you like us to do better, particularly so far as Berwick is concerned? I would say that the response to the online part of the consultation has been far more than we've ever had before, and I'm glad to say that the vast majority of them are very positive. The situation politically at the County Council is that the Conservatives have been given the honour, and I mean that, of being the largest party in the County Hall, and thanks to good relations with most of the other political groups, we have formed the administration, and the council is running in a very calm way and in a very consensual way the vast majority of the time. To find the £20 million is going to be very difficult, but we want to preserve those things that you, I think, all want us to do, which is free town centre car parking. We want us to continue with the leisure option and the leisure offer that we have. You want us to continue building new schools, and particularly I'm sure you would want us to continue with the Berwick partnership, which will see something like £64 million invested in the schools, and extra after school learning and extra SEND special educational needs training also, education also. So it's a very big, very expensive programme, all of which is being covered by the County Council. We have not. We have been offered some money by government to carry out some basic repairs, but we don't want to do that. We want to start all over again with a brand new school and seeing to the feeder schools as well. So we want to continue to do that, and we want to continue with the kind of very ambitious programme that we've got, which has seen some good developments, and primarily. I know it's not linked to you directly, but it is very important for the county as a whole. Our new Northumberland line, which is a railway line that was closed 70 years ago, which has now reopened. It was a very, it's taken a bit of risk and quite a lot of courage to do this project, but it's up and running now. There's only 2 stations left to open, which will open soon, and we've just passed the 700,000th passenger in 11 months, which we're very pleased about. And that's connecting not just southeast Northumberland and other parts of Northumberland into Newcastle and beyond, it's bringing tourists and others into Northumberland and that's very important as well. The second major development is, of course, the £10 billion investment by Blackstone QTS for a new data centre campus near Blythe. That 10 billion is one of the largest investments ever seen in Europe. But with it, we negotiated a new investment fund, which we will control, of £110 million. Now that 110 million will be used across the county to help small business set up, both rural and urban, and to create jobs and to create growth within Northumberland. And at the same time as that, we want to continue the work we're doing on our environmental work, whether that's the work that we do on climate change or whether it's the work that we do in green spaces, parks and so on. So that is a quick rush through, sorry if it's been a bit quick, of where we are at the moment. And I'd really, really appreciate it if you could tell us what it is that you think we might do better, what we might do less of or more of, to help us move into this final stage of preparing for the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Right, councillors, I'm sure you've got questions, but we'll start with one question each. Normal process, one hand up first, and then we'll just work our way through. Tom, you can start.
Not so much a question, just councillors will be aware that Councillor Sanson had invited everyone along to Rosemary Mackenzie and myself went along to that. Two main issues that was attended by parish councillors and town councillors from all off the north of the county. Main issues that seemed to come out of that were concerns around public transport and concerns around loss of residential accommodation to holiday lets, and significant concerns about that, and whether the county council can put any policies in place to reduce, either reduce the number of holiday lets or to extract more income into the county council from the owners of those holiday lets. Obviously, from my understanding, that is becoming a very serious issue in the whole town of Berwick as well, and in Spittle particularly. So it is, I think, something that we need to, as a council, continue pressing.
Anything you want to reply, Dan?
No, just to say that bus services are very important to us. We do have a close working relationship with NECA, the North East Combined Authority, and although we are very different politically, the Mayor, Kim McGuinness, and I get on very well. She knows that I want to see more rural bus services that are sustainable, that don't just last for 6 months, but last for a period of time, so people can start using them, knowing that they'll still be there next year. So that's very much something that's important on the ground.
And I think the problem we have specifically in Berwick is that we have border buses, which is a Scottish company, so therefore dealing with them creates its own individual problems when talking to the North East Combined Authority. I think it took a while for us to actually get the £2.50 charge. It took a while for us to get that because it was a different authority in effect. Who else would like to ask questions? Anne.
Hello. I saw your blog on Facebook when you were in Berwick and you were at the Five Arches site that you've been in partnership with Benicia for. Now this is a massive site. Why have only 6 homes been allocated to local people through Home Finder?
I think it's more than that, but I don't know for
No,
sure.
there's only been 6 on Home Finder.
But I think, can you help me with that?
And Home Finder are the body that Benicia use to let their properties.
Yeah, I don't know the answer, but I will come back to you. Who do I reply to on that?
If you come through Ian first, Ian will forward that on to Anne.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of people disappointed.
But the whole point about that development was that it should be for local people, low cost renting to house or part buy. So I don't really understand, because when I went there, the clear impression I had was that it was for local people, and that's the whole reason the county council put in £1.5 million to make it more feasible. and therefore better able to meet that demand. So will you leave it with me and I'll come back
It's
to you?
not happening.
Is it, sorry to knock you out, is it a question of phase release? That they have only completed
Well,
whatever,
there's
10 so far?
19 three-bedroom houses and they've only released 6
Oh, right,
to the
okay.
local community.
I think that is the answer. I think they're doing it in stages, because they're not all built yet, as you
No, I
know.
know.
And I think my reply will probably tell you that, but I will check with Vanessa and I will come back to you. Do I have the, will my PA have the correct email address to reply? Oh, thank you. Right. Perfect, thank you. I will come back to you this week.
And on the other part, Glenn, about the greater use of conversion of private rented to holiday lets, is that something that the county council will be involved with? And there's nothing to do with your budget as such, but is it something that you're aware of in other areas as well, becoming a major issue? And what
It is.
can
It
we
is
do?
something that's been raised across the council, and obviously we are aware in other local authority areas, Cumbria is a good example of that as well, where it's becoming an increasing problem in local areas, because it just follows out the local communities.
Okay. Next question. Yes, Richard.
And thank you, Glenn, for your distribution of information. I noticed that you gave us a figure of 64 million for school building within Berwick. Do you have a breakdown of where the funding for that has been budgeted from?
No, not with me tonight. But I can say that it is split between the work that's been done on the feeder school and also on obviously a replacement for the high school, complete replacement. That is the figure that's in the budget.
Do you have any time scales? Because obviously there's a transitional period and that's leading to some uncertainties, so people are in buildings at the moment that are not fantastic.
As quickly as we can. I think I'm right in saying that everything's done now to planning. Am I right on that?
Plan application.
So we will get it done as quickly as we can.
Keen to hear that.
On that point, added to that has been the great emphasis from the government about vocational training. And one of the biggest issues we have here is when any of our kids try and do vocational training, they've normally had to go to Ashington or even Newcastle for that training. Is there any possibility in the new academy that's been created for vocational as part of?
Yes, very much so. So there is further education side of it, and there's also the special education needs side of it. Both groups of those people have to travel, as you just said. So we want to try and keep people in Berwick, and as far as special education needs children are concerned, they're just as important as our mainstream children. We've got to stop taxing them around the place, and the moment we don't have, we are doing the best we can to buy properties. This is what we're doing, to also try and set up special parts of mainstream schools, if you like, to send pupils. But we need to have more up here, and that is why this is such an important kind of package. That it's further education at SEND, it's at high school and feeder schools. So it's taking the whole thing all at once.
Next person.
That's my question.
Laura.
Yes, thank you. 10 billion for a new big data centre area, if I understood you correctly, is a lot of money, a big centre. These centres use a lot of electricity and a lot of water. I'm just wondering what are the environmental protections that are being put in along with that huge investment.
Yeah, so good point. The water side of things is all in one big circular movement. It's not, because Paul's going to help me because he's at that one. But part of all of this has taken that into account, so that we have carbon offset recommendations that have been agreed, so that that part of things will be dealt with. So far as water is concerned, it is a continuous flowing, like almost like a moat, if you like, that's going round, and not, so we're not pumping in fresh water all the time and pumping out soil water, basically. It's a fascinating bit of engineering, and I think they've got QTS got a website with that
Yes,
part of it.
it is without doubt a massive electrical demand on a facility of that nature, and that's why that site was one of the key considerations why that site was selected, because of its excellent power supply. That does include the connector that comes over from Norway, I think it is, in terms of using some of their electricity into the UK as well, and that's obviously hydroelectric power and other renewable sources. And the grids generally within the UK is greening as well in terms of the electrification of that. But one of the benefits that we're looking to work with that company is to look at district heating schemes across Northumberland. And this is one of the locations that, whilst we haven't got to the stage yet where we're saying this is going to be a district heating connector, we're certainly trying to make sure that it's kind of future-proof so it can be used for that there's no barriers in place to prevent that from going forward, and that's something that's a key consideration for us as we move forward.
Interestingly, on power, if I may finish the question, it is one of the biggest drawbacks that we have to further expansion. It's a national issue, but it is something that government are working on. Part of the recent reshuffle saw a new Secretary of State for industry, and she has set up a task group called the Climate. Is it called again? I can't remember the name of it. It's a task group anyway, made up of myself and the mayor, civil servants, and so on. It's the AI growth zone. That's what it is. The North AI growth zone. And so through that we will be able to have significant influence, I hope, in ensuring that we get better power connection. And there is masses of power available, as you will know. Huge turbines on the Dogger Bank, bringing into the Blythe area, and we know that is not being utilised as much as it could be, and efficiently as it could be. So that's one of the big issues that we're looking at the moment, because there are other very large industrial companies who are interested in building alongside where QTS Blackstone will build their data centre. So we must make sure we've got enough power. But this is all going to bring jobs. It's not just going to benefit the South East, because as I say, we deliberately negotiated with them £110 million out of this deal. That is ring-fenced in an investment fund that will only be used for jobs, growth, rural and urban. So the whole county will benefit from this.
Laurie, you have another question?
Well, my follow-up question is perhaps a little bit similar to what you've just been commenting on, is this investment actually going to raise funds for the North East? It's going to provide jobs, etc., possibly district heating schemes, other businesses coming in, etc. It will actually raise funds.
Yes.
It will.
Yeah.
So
It will stay in the North East.
the £110 million that's the capital receipt for the land that the council secured as part of that deal is effectively being ring-fenced within the county council as a fund solely for the county council to invest in business and to support economic growth across the county. So that's effectively kind of combining be used for all manner of things potentially, but land acquisition to help facilitate growth is a key part of that.
So who owns the data centre?
A company called Blackstone, which is a huge multinational, incredibly wealthy investment company, and QTS, which is a Kansas-based company that develops data centres. So together, they pulled together for this one, and they've already started paying into our investment fund, and we hope to see them up and running next year.
Rachel?
This is an employment-based question. So I had a gentleman who's in his mid-20s who was very keen to get trained up in the necessary engineering skills to work in offshore renewables, which is great because there are apprenticeships and schemes available in Blythe. But that is quite difficult if you're a young person currently living in Berwick. Now, we do have people with skills in specialised engineering. We've got people who currently travel up to Torness, who are based within Berwick. They have very specialised skills working with nuclear energy. But this is for the younger generation. So how can we support any young person who is keen to access that training if they're based within Berwick? Is there any kind of concept that they might have in terms of residential, something that they're not widely even think?
Yeah, it's something we're looking at, because obviously that's the whole issue around distance is important. But we have invested £15 million in Energy Central, which is the learning hub at Blythe. We've also set up a number of other opportunities, like, for example, the new welding centre, and there is the renewables sector at just near Blythe as well. We have an arm's length Northumberland skills facility, which will be helpful, I think, and we're looking to get that set up more up here. And also, we are working with a number of others, including Northumberland College, and they're currently building a new campus, as you know, in Ashington. So there is lots there. It's the question of the point that was made about buses. So I would like to think that when we move forward with the new education excitement in Berwick, that we will be able to include, as well as the further education, something that's actually focused particularly on what the future is, basically, which is around
Yeah, what I'm looking for is the route, the simplified route that a person, if they express an interest at a T level or an apprenticeship, that they would have the same access to that resource as a young person in Ashington or Blythe might have, if they have that interest.
Indeed, and that's fine. It's quite well made.
Rosemary.
I'd say thank you for all the investment so far in Berwick. It's really appreciated. The Maltings and the school, both exciting. So I suppose, and I really like all this idea of helping business and regeneration, because obviously Berwick's a place that's got a lot of employment for people in the hospitality trade, but we haven't got enough of other industries, and we really need support and help. So I like the fact that, you know, we'll be interested in seeing that. So my next thing is, we started, obviously, we're on the regeneration route. So we've got the Maltings, we've got the school coming, and that will mean that people are more likely to settle here, particularly the school. But I suppose we're also interested in the next aspect, and where do you see that you can support Berwick in moving forwards on its regeneration route, so it can get the high street sorted, get everything else, because you've looked at Exham, you've done all the, what's it called, the place stuff, where you look at how to improve that high streets, and so are we going to be looking at Berwick in due course, and how can you help us?
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why I've come this evening, is because I wanted to just say that we need to work better, more closely together, because I would like Berwick Town Council to be able to come up with some ideas to talk about. So we can either come up here, or you can come down to us, and we can have a discussion about what sort of programme, what sort of things you would like us to help you with. Not to take over, but to help you with, deliver over the next 3 years. And that's absolutely what we want to do. There are some ideas that are being looked at the moment, which I welcome, and I would like to keep the pace going on these, but ideas is what we need. Sparky ideas about what Berwick actually is perhaps potentially missing now, and what you think that you could actually, what we could do to help you as partners bring in. So that's not just waffle, it's genuine, and now we have this money to help, which, you know, it's quite rare for any council to have a specific fund so large that we are ring fencing. So Georgina, for example, comes up and says, I want a new skating rink. She'd be told no, you're not having a skating rink. But that kind of thing, it's not for that. It's about jobs. it's about business, it's about opportunities, and that's what it's about.
And probably a perfect point because Phil's just put his hand up.
So I'll just build on Councillor Mackenzie's points around investment. So I believe that you're the chair of the Borderlands partnership. I was just wondering, is there another round of projects and investment opportunities coming from that partnership? Because I noticed the last round obviously was ANIC, and obviously the Adgefrin investment's gone very well. We would like to understand what the opportunities are to get more involved with that outside of obviously Manchester Nottingham.
Yeah, I think it's a better bet to go with us rather than Borderlands right now, because I think the Borderlands fund is not altogether spoken for, but it would be more difficult to get large sums of money from Borderlands for brand new schemes that haven't been looked at yet. Not impossible, but and certainly worth trying. But I think it might be more difficult. We have just agreed the Bailiff Gate Museum idea, which you may have seen, Brannick, which is quite an adventurous scheme, but one I'm very keen on. And they've got Heritage Lottery funding to help them with that. This is moving from a small premises into Northumberland Hall, which is a very large building
in the middle of ANIC, and so we will help them with that, both with Borderlands funding, which is gone, and also with our own funding.
Anything else from you?
No.
I'm conscious of the time. And two things from us on a much lower level. However, we're interested in taking on board the cemeteries, but we're still waiting for costs for that. And those costs are, again, you're trying to set a budget, we're trying to set a budget. So if something could be done on that front to actually move the cemeteries forward, because we would like to take those over from you. And the other thing is that we have also agreed to take on board the war memorials, but we're still waiting for legals. And I know legals can take forever, but please, it's a practical thing.
So would it be okay, Paul, if you could get that to the town council in a week or so from those?
The war memorials, I need to check with the legal.
Is there even a possibility, I mean, again, we took on board the market, even though the legals hadn't been signed, but there was just a letter of understanding at that point. You're looking at me. Am I able to say that? Yeah, I've been informed that we are already maintaining the war memorials, even though we haven't actually got the legals for them, but we have plans. I mean, at the moment we have war memorials that still only have the names of those who died in the First World War. But we have a local community interest to see everyone who has died in every campaign to actually be added into each of those war memorials. But we really need the legals for that to crack on with that.
I'll check that out in terms of transfer. But like we've already said previously, that's something that we're more than happy to facilitate. Sure, we haven't before now. I think the key issues were the condition of some of those war memorials, so that's now being addressed as you know, so there's no real obstacle to that anymore, just getting through the legal transfer.
Very quick one, Rosemary.
Just on that, what about the massive flood from the mine of the Spittle Memorial, because they had a major flood, was it?
So I'm aware that there's been an issue at the Spa well at the Spittle. Obviously we did undertake works there previous year just to try and address some of the what we consider to be groundwater issues predominantly. That's obviously now something that we'll have further look at, because basically the implication is that it was all to do with the water main burst that caused that latest flooding incident, and it's then a question as to whether or not have the previous issues that escalated in recent years been as a result of leakage in advance of that burst actually taking place. So that's something that we're in active dialogue with Northumberland Water over at the moment.
Because the residents were informed, Georgine might know, one of the residents was informed that it was also an exacerbating factor was the Scummerston mine being switched off as an exacerbating factor. So that's just, we need that sort of
come in on that?
Georgina, yes, our councillor happy, Georgina?
I've had so many calls, and it's been brilliant because there's been recent issues, so many calls from very senior people at Northumberland Water, and they've really clarified what's going on there, is that there is no mine shaft, and groundwater filled that up, and the water pumped out. Unfortunately, because you're looking at what's the solution, how much it costs. I mean, the guy said, you're talking a huge amount of money to deal with an issue like that. I mean, the county council spent about 40,000 on some piping to help pipe it around, but you've got to be honest about it. The solution is very complex to identify, but the cost would be enormous, and that's so. I don't know what more to say, but we do have that challenge. I don't know, because you know Northumberland Water doing this £175 million scheme. If anything can be done as part of that infrastructure, but it is a major challenge.
Fortunately for the town councillors that sat around this table, whilst we've only agreed to take on board the war memorial at Spittal and certainly not the grassed area beyond, we will just have a very specific area which at the moment, touchwood, hasn't been affected by the flooding. The other area will still unfortunately be the responsibility of county. Tom, I'll make this the final question.
Just wearing my hat as chair of the neighbourhood planning group, the town council. Can you give us any update on what the town council's thoughts might be for the middle school sites?
No.
Right. And I'm aware from what has previously been said by Rob Mervyn, I think that you've carried out audits of council-owned buildings in other towns in the county, and that you were certainly planning on having that sort of thing happen in Berwick, to know if what might be disposed of and what might be kept. Is that something that is happening?
Being worked on, yes. Because we're, at the moment we're just doing our refresh of the local plan. 3 years earlier than we need to, and as part of that we are looking at a number of issues, including that one. I hope you've been kept in touch about the review. I'm looking at the chief officer. Yes, good. And that's a huge piece of work that we're taking on. We want to make sure that we are quite clear on a whole range of issues, and that we don't find ourselves having to be slightly vulnerable for more house building than we necessarily want in the wrong place. So this is doing the best we can to protect Northumberland, but by involving all the local councils, involving people, so that it's a sensible local plan going forward, rather than being slightly weak, which we might have been if we hadn't taken this route, to the invasion of many houses, not necessarily in the right place, not necessarily fulfilling the need like the one Seton Hall is. So that's why we're doing that, and that's part of the work.
Right.
Can I just, because one of the things that we are actively working on, I've copy of recently, is the castle gates and the parking study in Berwick. Obviously that comes back to Councillor Kennedy's comments about looking at more place-based approach. So obviously there's different recommendations in there as to the ways forward. That's something obviously we want you to get your views in relation to your preferences to help inform that decision making, but that is looking at a more place-shaped approach to that.
Coming back to where you started off on then, and you actually said about the 3-year plan and our input into what cut-off date for us to get response back from, if we've got some bright ideas, what we actually want to move the town forward with next.
Okay, so in terms of feeding into the corporate plan process, there is still time. There's a week or 2 or 3 even, if you have anything that you specifically want us to be looking at as potential projects for the next 3 years. And also, as I said before, it's about what do you think the council is needing to do differently, and how we might work better with town and parish council. So that would be very helpful. But in terms of kind of longer term things that we might begin in the next year or 2, the ideas that we've been talking about that we can work on together, I would welcome a meeting at any time. And so, I'll happily come up with some senior officers and we can talk ideas through when you're ready.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much for coming up there.
Thank you for having us.
No, not at all. And safe journey back.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Right, then we move on to our meeting. So let's start with apologies for absence. Smith, Brown and Seymour, wonderful. Disclosure of interests. Anyone got disclosure of interest? I haven't already added them. None received? No, no one on the agenda. Open session. Members of the public may make representations, ask questions and give evidence at a meeting which they intend to attend in respect of the business on the agenda. This is for a period of 15 minutes overall and is limited to 3 minutes per person. Do we have any questions?
Yes, I do.
All right.
So you're repeatedly saying that the council is transparent and that you're making decisions in public. And this agenda, though, has at least 2 examples of decisions that have been made behind closed doors. And we've also got a tourism and regeneration task group, which has had some notes that have been approved. What notes are these and who is on this task group? So can you explain why these things are being done behind closed doors?
We'll get back to you within 3 days. Okay?
Right.
Right, carry on. Anybody else from the members of the public? Yes, Robert.
Yes, I have a question. I came to collect my papers on the 20th of September to the Environmental Committee working group, and I walked into a meeting between the operations manager, Councillor Tom Stewart, and Michael Herriot, chair of the Freeman. I was ushered into the back room while they had a meeting, and then afterwards I've been sitting waiting to hear the report, what was discussed at the meeting, who organised the meeting, and why was the meeting being held. I wonder if you could let us know.
I am not aware of a meeting. Ian, are you able to say anything on this part?
I wasn't part of the meeting, but I remember it was great. It was, the council asked for us to get more information from certain people, and our meeting was to get more information from certain people, and then it was going to be reported at the relevant working group. It was just a council news and officer meeting.
The council being informed about that.
Because we haven't got a paper or anything to come towards full council yet.
Sorry?
So no decision has been made. We're just getting background information on it.
So who organised the meeting?
I did.
Right.
This council has asked for more background information. And you can't get more background information unless you ask for a meeting.
All right, and then the mayor accused us of passing confidential information, councillors, in an email to us, when the Freemen are freely talking about this subject out in the open. So I suggested that the information came from the Freemen. I was then told by the Freemen that they did not approach the council. The councillor, Tom Stewart, approached them on the subject of taking on the town hall. So did we get wrong information from?
Robert, I think what you're talking about is now going into confidential information and it's not for to be discussed in public. Okay?
But it's been publicly discussed out there.
It's not for to be discussed in public. We can talk about this once we get to the end of this meeting and when we have a closed session, then we can talk about it more.
But why is it secret?
Robert, it's confidential.
What's confidential about it when the Freemen are talking openly about it
Robert,
in the town?
I don't care what the Freemen are saying. We in this meeting are not talking about this until out with the public meeting, okay?
No, it's not okay.
Well, you just have
I
to
don't
live with
agree
that.
with you at all.
Well,
I think that's completely wrong.
well, that's your view.
We're representing the people of Berwick, not having private discussions between ourselves. We represent the
And we
residents
have
of Berwick.
not made a decision
And I'm
yet, Rob.
representing my residents, and we want to know what's going on.
And what we're going on is that we have no report in front of us to discuss, and we will not be discussing it in front of the public. When we are ready to say something, we will do. You're jumping the gun. Now, can we carry on? Any other questions from members
Yes.
of council?
The market, can we have an update on the market and the costs and the income? I know nothing about it, don't even know what the cost of the lease is or nothing, we've been told nothing.
Robert,
There's another subject that's under the table.
Robert, it's not under the table, it's not on the agenda though, so the operations manager will get back to you in
Right.
3 days, working days.
And who authorised the £35 payment to a member of staff to collect the money? Don't know, that's the first time I heard about it when it was mentioned.
Full council.
Full council.
It went through full council, councillor.
Yeah.
Maybe if you read your papers, then you'll be able to know about it.
Right, another question is the quayside. Has the residents been consulted about the pods that's going down there? Because I know a lot of them on the top of the walls are very unhappy about it.
Last comment, Robert.
Sorry?
Compound post comment, we'll get back to you in 3 days.
Right, the pump track, has any councillors been asked to visit the site?
Sorry?
The pump track,
No,
why not?
because we have plans in front of us, why do we need to visit a site? We know where it is.
Okay, and what about all the trees that's been removed since we authorised all the money? And the residents are upset about it?
Those trees will
This
be
is all
moved
going
forward.
on and nobody knows nothing about it and everybody sits quiet and says nothing.
Sorry, Robert, the operations manager can
Also,
answer that. Robert, the operations manager can answer that question.
Good.
Right?
I'm looking forward to hearing it.
So the planting of the trees was done.
So the removal of the trees.
I'm going to get onto that, councillor. The planting of the trees was undertaken by a contractor for Greenwich Hospital Estates. Was not supposed to happen until the pump track had been installed. However, the contractor, unbeknown to Greenwich Hospital Estates, planted the trees. All trees that will be removed for the installation of the pump track, which has not begun yet, that process has not started, will be replaced with trees out with the area where they interfere with the track.
I think Councillor Bruce was referring to the removal of the original mature trees, which I think was done after Storm
under permission after Storm Arwen with a replanting programme, which, as we've already stated, has happened too early.
Right, Robert, you've had your 3 minutes. Anyone else?
No, I haven't finished yet. Don't
Robert,
go on
sorry,
residents.
Robert,
I
you
don't
have
care
had-
what you're saying.
you
The
have-
audio and the video they've got that you said was going on YouTube has not been placed on YouTube. Why not?
You're getting no more answers, Robert. You've had your 3 minutes.
Can I have a written reply from you, please? As a councillor.
Right.
No matter what the mayor says.
Any other councillors got any questions they want to raise? Right, shall we carry on to the next session, which is to look at the minutes of the correct, same as the correct record, the minutes of Berwick Town Council extraordinary meeting held on the 22nd of September 2025. Now let's do it as normal in turn. Let's go through the first page, which is actually on page 4. Anything there? Anything on page 5? I have a query. I don't know what, when you get...
Yes, I've got a query as well on page 5.
Well, I'm saying at my query first.
Right, okay.
Robert.
Decision. 5625, allotment policy. Adopt a draft allotment policy. Agreed NEMCON. What does that mean?
No discussion,
No objection.
Objection.
No objection.
No
There was
objection.
an abstention, I believe.
Yes.
And it would be helpful if you had full words rather than abbreviations. 'Cause,
Yeah.
well, my Latin is, I did Latin at school, but I certainly didn't come across that.
It's
Okay.
not clear.
It's not clear.
John.
Right, Robert, you have something?
Yes, decision pump track insurance and maintenance. I don't know anything about maintenance. I thought we agreed to take on insurance and that was it.
No, we agreed to take on maintenance as well.
Did we?
We did.
Okay.
Okay, anyone else? Yes, Laura.
With regard to the stonework under the monoliths, I did previously raise a question about whether they need to be on the surface to protect them against potential vandalism. But I've walked past a couple in recent days where there's been seagull shit, and I don't know how easy that's going to be to clean off.
Any other queries on page 5? Page 6. Okay. Therefore, can I have all those in favour of passing the notes? Sorry. Oh, sorry. 58 to 25. Third decision. Market operations. Staff to be paid £35 for Saturday collection. Agreed unanimously, Robert. Okay. After that point, can we move on? All those happy to approve the minutes? Those in favour? Thank you. Against? Noted. Thank you. Abstention?
I wasn't present, so I'm not.
That's fine.
I wasn't there.
That's okay. Thank you. Move on. Items for decisions. Review the notes of the working groups and discuss any recommendations to full council. So I will pass off first. Notes of the Environment and Communities Group to receive an update from the lead member on the recent meeting of the working group and to consider any recommendations to full council.
The meeting was called to order by myself and the usual formalities were undertaken. Thorough review and discussion of all agenda items was undertaken by councillors. Looking at item 4, the officers updated the working group on the progress decisions that have been made at full council and all are progressing. Lidl have declined to sponsor the bus stop bench and the burnt bin will be discussed at the next Environment and Communities working group meeting on Monday, next Monday. Does anybody have anything to ask me?
Not ask, but there's a typo on that item 4. Little with an E now.
It's not on the notes. My apologies.
That's okay. And then on item 5, the play areas report, which I think is due to be completed in November, will be discussed at the next meeting again. That's next Monday, 3rd of November.
Sorry, Rachel, you wanted to ask something on item 4?
It's probably a point of information on with regards to Lidl. They have a sign about peas or happy to be. My understanding was that was a temporary sign, but it's been there since the store and it's tangential to the agenda. We do apologise, Chair.
That's all right.
But I just wanted to flag that as to whether it's likely to be removed.
I would imagine that will go to counties.
Absolutely.
County officers. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions on item 5?
No.
Item 6 was about the winter planting, which is now well underway. The chief officers confirmed the sponsorship will run for a calendar year. The Berwick Riders Association has also now removed the bunting.
Any questions on that one? No, everybody happy with that? Okay, move on.
Item 7, war memorials. The officers updated the working group that the maintenance was ongoing, as is the transfer, which we talked about again tonight. Northumberland Water will be doing some repair work this week after leaking main in Highcliffe to ensure the memorial is right for Remembrance Sunday. Yeah. Anybody want anything? Any clarification there? No. Item 8, the residents' bin request for a bin to be installed at the top of Falloden Terrace was discussed. Permission from NCC has been given to install the bin and the working group supported the residents' request.
The only question I've got there, of course, is we've given permission for the top of Falloden Terrace. However, there had been requests for the bridge at the bottom, but previously that's where we've had the bin vandalised. That was it thrown over the...
Yeah.
So I take it that's a non-starter.
We thought we'd start with this one at the time, so yeah, I think that's what we agreed with, yeah. Item 9, the working group discussed the missing trees on Riverside Walk in Tweedmouth. The working group agreed it would be prudent to wait until details of Northumberland Water's plans are known. They have an engagement event on Tuesday the 4th of November at the Baptist Church in Golden Square from 2 till 4. Anybody wants to hold on to that? Any questions?
Okay.
Item 10, the locations for estate Christmas trees were discussed. Officers will bring costings and budget availability to the next meeting. Locations are still required for Grove and Castle wards. Is that right? Still?
Can I just say that it's not Tweed Middle School, it's Berwick Middle School for Magdalen.
Sorry, Chair. And for Grove, I'm sure my Grove councillors wouldn't mind if we said the junction at the between Dean Drive and Upmouth Prior Road on that triangle of land there would be our preferable choice because it's a lead-in into the estate.
Item 11. Items for future agendas were discussed and will be added in due course. And then on to the ongoing tasks. And item 3, it was discussed about the notes and for councillors to updated corrected notes to be used in working group meeting papers. The term the working group to be used instead of the council in working group notes, which seems to be happening. Yeah. Item 4, officers to make changes to a large decision log document, which was very small, we couldn't read it, and to add date and title to head of document, brought up by law. Item 5, officers to continue play area conditions report, which we've already mentioned, to be brought back to the Environment Committee Working Group in November. Item 7, officers to progress war memorials transfers, etc. Item 9, officers to contact Northumberland Water and Councillor Hill. Have you been in contact?
Not yet, no.
With you, sorry, with Ken.
It will do with me, council, but I'm not contacted about the trees on the
It's to
inside.
happen, it's on ongoing.
Francis said she's going to come back to the trees, but I'll catch up.
We'll catch up, yes.
Item 10, officers to confirm total costs and budget available, chase councillors for locations if not provided. And 11, officers to add items to the next agenda. It was quite a lot from what I can remember. And I'll now hand you over to the Mayor for our 1 recommendation.
Thank you, Jane, for that report. So therefore the recommendation, it goes back to item 8, and full council to install a litter bin at the top of Falloden Terrace with NCC permission. Everyone in favour for installing the litter bin? All in favour?
Definitely, let's start a little one.
Thank you very much. Okay, move on. I'll call upon receive an update from the lead member on the recent meeting of the working group and to consider any recommendations to full council for business and admin working group. Budget and admin.
Thank you. Okay, the meeting was called to order by myself and the usual formalities were undertaken. Thorough review and discussion of all the agenda items was undertaken by councillors. Item 28-25, the working group discussed the notes from the tourism and regeneration group and agreed those afterwards. Item 29-25, there was a thorough discussion on the Quayside project with working group members. The concerns highlighted in the notes were discussed in depth with the working group, concluding to support the recommendations.
Stop there. Any questions on those first 2? No?
Okay. Moving on. Item 30-25, the town centre signage project to make use of the available section 106 money. The working group has tasked officers to bring more details back to the November meeting. I'll pause if there's any questions, just dive in. Item 31-25, update to the working group on the potential project for Cows Building involving several organisations within the town. Item 32-25, the working group discussed the notes of the market task group. There were some errors in spelling from the transcript, but the notes were agreed to be accurate. The working group discussed bringing in an external person with experience in markets who will be invited to future meetings of the task group. I actually have an update on that. I'll be meeting with that person tomorrow morning, so I'll report back to council. Oh, fantastic. I'll definitely be able to do that. Okay, next one. Item 33-25. The working group discussed various changes and improvements that could be made to the festive light display within Berwick and the surrounding areas. The working group agreed that working with other organisations to promote events within the town. Officers have been tasked with gathering some quotes for the November meeting. Planning for the 2026 display needs to begin in January. Question?
No, it's not a question, it's just a very brief correction that Belper is in Derbyshire, but not separate to. It's in the notes, in the notes, my apologies, on 33.25 it says, seen in Derbyshire and Belper, but Belper is within Derbyshire.
Thank you for that.
That's good. My dad worked in Belfast, so I know. Okay, next one. Oh yes, 3425. The working group discussed in detail new premises and the need for proper diligence before making any long-term financial decisions. Further information will be brought back to the November meeting of the working group.
Can I just say to all councillors that you are entitled to come along to any of these working groups. You don't have to be members, the only difference is you can't vote, but you can speak and come along to meetings, which is for transparency's purposes. So therefore, if you do have any queries, come along to the meetings, okay? Carry on.
Item 3525. The working group discussed in detail the expenditure versus budget today. Any areas of overspend were justified and agreed by councillors conducting their weekly checks. The money can be transferred from EMRs if needed and agreed by the relevant working group and full council. Item
Laura?
Sorry.
Previously we would have seen budget up-to-date documents.
Everybody does on working the agenda, which is sent out to the council.
So we see them online, but we don't see them in council.
No, you see them online. You see it's sent out in the budget administration of the agenda.
It doesn't come back to council.
No, because it's agreed there. It's needs to go to the council. Unless there's a specific note or recommendation from that, and there's no recommendation from the go to the council to discuss the working group. And all councils get all the financial information every single week, and you get sight of all the agendas. Well, I thought that Wednesday was.
Carry on, Phil? Okay. Item 3625. The working group discussed the grant application from Berwick Rotary Club for £1,200 for the road closure for the Christmas market. Decided to recommend the council support this. Item 3725. The working group discussed the need to ensure the budget for the upcoming financial year can meet all the council's obligations and the community needs. Item 3825 to 4025. The working group scrutinised all the reports, all the updates were noted with no issues identified. Item 4125, AGAR. The working group discussed a minor note on the AGAR Annual Governance and Accountability Return, highlighting that the accounts have been open for public inspection for 31 days instead of the required 30 days. This meant that technically a member of the public able to object on the 31st day would not have been able to do so formally. The council acknowledged the issue and agreed to ensure full compliance with the 30-day requirement in future years. The discrepancy arose from a day calculation error. The bank holiday observed only in Scotland had been mistakenly included. Item 4225. The working group was informed that the current internal auditor, Account Ant, would not be providing services for the next financial year. Efforts to find a new internal auditor were detailed, with David Newman from Newcastle expressing interest. His costs were outlined, and it was noted that his services would be more expensive than the current auditor, with a £150 increase, with the added benefit of the auditor visiting the site. The working group agreed on the necessity of having an internal auditor and considered the costs acceptable. Item 4325. The working group received a verbal update from the finance officer about the potential change to a more cost-effective accounting software. More details will be brought to the next meeting. Item 4425. The NCC governance review documents were discussed by the working group and the working group, and agreed the documents should be discussed at full council. Ongoing tasks. Ongoing tasks. Item 3025, more details on town centre signage to be brought to the next meeting. Item 3225, invite outside body to a future meeting of the market task group. Item 3325, bring costing for festive lights to the next working group meeting. 4325, the finance officer to consider more cost-effective account software to be discussed at the next meeting of the working group. I will now hand over to the Mayor for the recommendation.
Thank you, Phil. So, 4 recommendations. Item 2925, 1. Note a successful award of Destination Neighbourhoods pilot funding for the Quayside Artisan Units project. Just to note that one, do not to vote on that. Okay. Item 2. Approve continuing with the pilot as set out above. All those in favour? Opposed? Abstentions? 1. Item 3. Authorise officers to seek the necessary permissions from the Northumberland County Council to site and operate the units.
Can I just clarify that? Have we had any indication on what permissions might be needed? I'm just bearing in mind Councillor Bruce's query about notification to people on key walls or any other neighbours. Do we know that they will need planning permission, in which case obviously neighbour notifications will be carried out by the county council?
I believe they are movable objects.
Yeah, we were told.
So on that basis, our current understanding is that in fact no permissions are needed, apart from landowner's permission. So this item 3 here, this recommendation number 3, is referring to the landowner permission rather than any planning permission.
I was happy to answer.
Okay. The council is clear on what we've just been asked there, yeah? Yeah, we don't need planning permission, we just need approval from the landowner for the siting of them. So can I have those in favour of the trial? Thank you. Opposed? An abstention? 1 abstention. And item 4, agree that updates and evaluation be reported back to full council at key milestones. All those in favour? Opposed? That's everyone. Unanimous, thank you. Item 3625. Support the grant application for Berwick Rotary Club for £1,200 for the Christmas Market Road project. All those in favour? Against? Unanimous? Yeah, thank you. Item 3725. The council to agree to set a clear budget to ensure financial obligations are met and community initiatives are supported. All those in favour? Should be. Yeah. Nobody against. Thank you. Item 4125. The council to acknowledge the receipt of the AGAR for the 24-25 accounts. And if the only thing they had to complain about is that we actually had them on view for 1 day extra that we should have, I think we've done damn well as a council. So all those in favour? And can I congratulate the officers for the hard work they did in getting to that point? Thank you. Item 4225. The council to agree on the necessity of having an internal auditor and agree to the higher cost of £950. All those in favour? Thank you, that's unanimous. And finally, item 4425. The council to discuss the review and return the completed forms to NCC. That will move, because that's quite a bit of time. You want to do that now or do that afterwards? You could do it now if you want. Yeah. Okay, so backtracking, and we got a document in from county, and it's regarding about parish council, town council. Right. So this was a community governance review pre-consultation questionnaire, and county-wide community governance review by county council. All council will be invited to complete a pre-consultation questionnaire by 30th November. This will help NCC understand the current arrangements before formal consultation begins in 2026. So, questions for council consideration. Parish area. And it's so therefore, confirm that this submission relates to Berwick Tweed Town Council. Yes, we all agree? Yeah. The second question is number of councillors, and you've got 3 options. Does the council feel that currently has 1, the right number of councillors, 2, too many councillors, or 3, not enough councillors? Discuss. Sorry? Enough councillors on this one?
We had the discussion, I think, at but that I think the feeling that there was some talk about whether fewer would make working easier, but I think we were
those in favour of the right number of councillors? Okay. And those opposed? No. Thank you. Warding arrangements. Berwick is divided into 7 parish wards as follows. You all know the wards, I'm not going to go through them. Okay. The council is asked to consider whether the current warding structure remains appropriate or any changes should be proposed to ward names, boundaries or councillor numbers. I'll start this conversation off. We inherited 7 wards from Borough Council because it happened within a relative short period of time, was a year. I personally feel that whenever I speak up, whenever I speak and talk about Berwick, I mean the whole of Berwick. But I think as councillors, I think it would make far more sense if we just had 3 wards. A Berwick ward, a Tweed ward and a Spittal ward. And you are actually voted for to cover those particular wards. I think that's more appropriate than having these subdivisions. Because a lot of the time, we don't even know where our boundary finishes and the next one starts. Jane?
How would that affect the number of councillors?
It wouldn't. It would just be redivided according to population.
Yeah, we just haven't agreed to 16.
And
So you're going to lose your personal touch with the ward that you're in?
no, you'll still be with that ward, but it'll just be you'll be speaking for the whole of Berwick North, for instance, for yourself, yeah. It doesn't stop it. It doesn't reduce anything. But if you have somebody that comes into Greg's and says about something that's happened just 200 yards up the street, well, that's nothing to do with me. That's not my ward.
Well, you don't say that.
Potentially you could. Sometimes you might foist it off because it's the next ward. I think you should always say, it might not be my ward, however, I will pass that on.
Everybody should know the ward.
I think it would be much simpler for residents because I think they don't always know exactly where this ward goes. So using the main parts of Berwick, Spittal, etc., people would really understand where we represent them, where we're represented.
Rachel?
I think specific to the division in north of the river between Magdalen
I've got
and
one
Castle.
side of the road.
Well, yes, we do have half a road each, but also
Yes.
the historic implication was that Magdalen Ward covered the council housing. I don't like that distinction. I think we have residents, and I don't like the fact that we're dividing off one half of North Road from the other to that ward. I personally, with regards to Castle Ward, Magdalen Ward, would prefer that we could work without borders, but I would obviously defer to Anne.
It is a bit silly because as you go down, I've got the left-hand side of North Road and Rachel's got the right.
And then you have that small bit, Garden City.
Garden City
Which is abnormal. Yeah.
Which is just no way.
We'd be just one ward then.
Between that, yes, it was and stable.
Nancy's way.
Makes a lot of sense. The residents,
Yes,
the residents identify with the bit that they're in.
Laura?
Are there any population implications? I mean, would it be normal that wards were attempted to be in a similar population size?
No. No, what you would tend to find is that they would take, in effect, we'd be going to what the parishes are. You know, you've got Berwick Parish, what the parish churches do. And depending on the population would impact on how many councillors that ward would then return. So for instance, taking 16 as a rough guide, I would say Tweed being the biggest parish would probably have 6 or 7 councillors. This side of the river would probably have about 5 councillors and Spittal would probably have about 4 councillors. Roughly, do not hold me to that. But roughly the numbers will break down roughly to what we have at the moment.
So the population implications is the number of councillors?
Yeah, try and get the similar number of residents, voters per councillor is the target. None of these things would happen whilst we're still council this time round. These changes of the word go ahead would happen at the next election. So therefore, I'm going to ask you, would you be keen to propose that we actually have it as 3 separate parishes? That's my proposal. All those in favour? Separate wards, sorry. Wards, not parishes. Okay, all those in favour?
Can you get seconded?
Sorry?
That's your proposal, can you get seconded?
Yes.
Come on. Thank you, Jane. All those in favour? Thank you. Is that everyone?